Tonight on Reporting Scotland, nurse Sandy Peggy, who complained about sharing a changing room with a transgender doctor, is cleared of gross misconduct after an NHS disciplinary hearing. It comes as Miss Peggy's employment tribunal against NHS Fife resumes. Also on tonight's programme, Labour suspends Rebel MP Brian Leishman.
I'm devastated. I'm a proud Labour Party member. I don't want to lose the whip. And to be honest, I don't think what I've said and what I've done in my first 12 months as an MP, I deserve to.
The Alloa and Grangemouth MP voted against the UK government's welfare reform bill earlier this month. The Orange Order say they will continue to demand a meeting with the First Minister after some members were hit with suspected ear pellets during a march. We catch up with the smallest team at the International Island Games in Orkney, 2 archers from the Channel Island of Sark.
And coming up in the sport, the world's best golfers prepare to tee off at the Open Championship, but the event won't be returning to Turnberry anytime soon.
Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. A nurse who complained about sharing a changing room with a transgender doctor has been cleared of gross misconduct following disciplinary proceedings by NHS Fife. The decision came as an employment tribunal raised by Sandy Peggy against her employer resumed. The tribunal heard from the Health Board's Equality and Human Rights lead officer, who said it did not have a policy for trans employees. Louise Cowie reports.
Nurse Sandy Peggy returns to the employment tribunal that's generated headlines far and wide. Miss Peggy was suspended from her role last year after she objected to Dr Beth Upton, who is a transgender woman, using female facilities at Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy. This morning it emerged that an internal hearing by NHS Fife found there was insufficient evidence to support a finding of misconduct against Miss Peggy.
This follows a disciplinary hearing on the 25th of June, which considered 4 gross misconduct allegations, 2 relating to patient care failures, 1 of misgendering Dr Upton and 1 relating to her encounter with Dr Upton in the female-only workplace changing room on Christmas Eve 2023. Sandy is relieved and delighted that this 18-month-long internal process has concluded and cleared her of all allegations. Thank you.
In response, NHS Fife said, "We are satisfied that the process has been appropriately followed and is now concluded. We remain committed to fostering a respectful, inclusive and safe working environment for all of our staff and patients." Miss Peggy claims her treatment was unlawful under the 2010 Equality Act and brought a case against the Health Board and Dr Upton. The tribunal today heard from Isla Boomba, NHS Fife's Equality and Human Rights lead officer, who advised senior staff.
Ms Boomba said that NHS Fife didn't have a policy with regards to trans staff, that she'd leaned on policies being adopted by other Scottish health boards and was awaiting a national NHS policy called Once for Scotland. Ms Peggy's lawyer Naomi Cunningham put it to Ms Boomba that her advice was inclusive of trans people but not women who wouldn't want to share changing facilities with them. She accused Ms Boomba and NHS Fife of validating trans staff but sacrificing the privacy, dignity and safety of women in the process, something Ms Boomba denied. Ms Boomba said no women had raised concerns with her over trans staff sharing the changing facilities.
NHS Fife previously described Miss Peggy's case as unnecessary and vexatious, while Dr Upton has accused the nurse of bullying and harassment. The Health Board has already rung up a £220,000 legal bill defending itself. At the time of the incidents, NHS guidance stated that trans men and women could use the changing rooms that aligned with their gender identity. Since the tribunal last sat, the UK Supreme Court has ruled that a woman is defined by biological sex. The Scottish Government has said that new sex-based rights guidance is being developed. The proceedings, which have proved both controversial and costly, continue tomorrow. Louise Cowie, reporting Scotland, Dundee.
A Scottish Labour MP is among 4 members of Parliament who've been suspended from the party by the Prime Minister. Brian Leishman, who represents the Alloa and Grangemouth constituency, has been an outspoken critic of some of the UK government's policies, in particular around controversial welfare reforms. Here's our political correspondent Lindsay Bewes.
It was a damaging rebellion for the government. A revolt by Labour backbenchers forced ministers to U-turn on their welfare reforms. Scottish MP Brian Leishman had joined the dissent. But it wasn't the first time the Alloa and Grangemouth member defied his party. He's been a serial critic, from the government's handling of the Grangemouth oil refinery closure to compensation for the WASPy women. And today he was one of a number of Labour MPs to be suspended for breaching party discipline.
A mixture really of shock, upset, and I'm devastated. I'm a proud Labour Party member. I don't want to lose the whip, and to be honest, I don't think what I've said and what I've done in my first 12 months as an MP, I deserve to.
You have voted against your party, you have voted against the government. On many occasions, though, you've been a very vocal critic of the government's handling of a number of issues. Surely this can't come as a huge surprise to you.
Well, what I would say is there was no forewarning of this, and the sort of things that I've been campaigning on, I've been saying that they're actually quite popular.
Have you been given any indication of when you might get the whip back? And if you do, will you be revising your approach to how you handle disagreements with the government's decisions?
Timescales haven't been put down and set in stone as yet. I came down here, as I say, to be the representative of the communities across Alloa and Grangemouth to the best of my ability. I won't be changing anything that I've done.
Brian Leishman says he's standing up for his constituents. Today at Prime Minister's Questions, he was calling for support for bus firm Alexander Dennis in Falkirk and Larbert, where 400 jobs are at risk. Shortly afterwards, he lost the Labour whip and will now sit as an independent MP in the Commons.
Well, Lindsay is at Westminster for us tonight. Lindsay, what happens now then?
Well, Brian Leishman was called in to see Labour's chief whip straight after Prime Minister's Questions today to be told of his suspension for breaching party discipline. That will now be investigated by the party. It includes a dozen votes against the government and critical media interviews. As you heard there from him, there's been no timescale placed on that review of his conduct. He does hope to eventually have the party whip restored, but as of now, he is no longer a member of Labour's parliamentary group here at Westminster. He remains a Labour Party member.
This all comes at the end of Sir Keir Starmer's first year in charge. Why has the Prime Minister done this now?
Yeah, it's been a challenging first year in power for Sir Keir Starmer. He's had to deal with disquiet on his own backbenches over issues ranging from the winter fuel allowance to the 2-child benefit cap and to the welfare reforms, where in the last couple of weeks the government faced its biggest revolt on its backbenches. Now, you will maybe remember that early on after the election, Sir Keir Starmer suspended a handful of MPs over the 2-child cap to make an example of them. He has made the suspension of 4 Labour MPs who all voted against the welfare reforms today. It is an attempt, I think, to reassert his authority, to try to instill discipline among his parliamentary group after what has been a very bruising few weeks for his government.
OK, Lindsay Bewes at Westminster, thank you. To some of the day's other stories now. And a man has been jailed for 7 years for attempting to murder 3 people by grabbing the steering wheel and pulling the handbrake of a moving car. 34-year-old Stephen Phillipson was a passenger when he caused it to veer off the A941 in Murray in 2023. A female driver and 2 young children were in the car when it rolled over close to the village of Fogwart. The mother of a teenager who died in a Glasgow river on the hottest day of the year has paid tribute to her son, who she says will be forever 15. Emilus Vanagas got into difficulty in the River Kelvin near Maryhill Road in the west end of the city on Saturday evening. His family said he died just a month after celebrating his 15th birthday. The new boss of Ferguson Marine has called for a new Calmac ferry order to be directly awarded to the state-owned shipyard to secure its survival. The Scottish Government has earmarked cash to replace the MV Lord of the Isles, which serves South Uist in the Western Isles, within the next 3 years. Speaking at Westminster's Scottish Affairs Committee, Ferguson's Chief Executive, Graham Thomson, told MPs failure to secure the contract for the ferry would make the future of the yard very difficult and challenging.
We've lobbied for a direct award, and if not, then social value and local content is where we'd like to see that included in the contracts. And I think between that and how we would price it now, in anticipation of the investment we're going to make in the yard, we will be on a level playing field.
And plans to redevelop the fire-damaged O2 ABC music venue on Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow have been called in for review by the Scottish Government. The City Council has been told the decision was taken due to the potential impact on the nationally important Glasgow School of Art. The City's Planning Committee approved a bid to build a public food hall and student flats, despite complaints from more than 100 organisations and individuals. The Orange Order says they are severely disappointed to not meet with the First Minister today after some of their members were hit with air pellets during a march earlier this month. They've claimed that a lack of condemnation from John Swinney gives a green light to attacks. But the First Minister has pushed back, insisting that he takes all forms of hate deadly seriously. Our political correspondent David Wallace-Lockhart has the story.
It was at this Orange March in Glasgow earlier this month that a number of marchers were hit with suspected air weapon pellets. A police investigation is ongoing. The Orange Lodge of Scotland believes that threats to their members aren't taken seriously enough. They say their halls have been vandalised and that female members have been abused. This morning, they outlined their concerns to civil servants. But it's the First Minister they want to meet with, and they're unhappy with the response they've received so far.
The silence from the First Minister itself, it almost gives a green light to attack our parades, and it's very concerning as a law-abiding citizens and as a Christian organisation that we're not getting any ministers coming out to condemn these attacks on our parades.
That's a really serious accusation. You feel that strongly that the First Minister not meeting with you almost gives, in your words, a green light to those sort of attacks?
Absolutely. I've now sent several letters, as I said, to the First Minister asking for a meeting, and still nothing to date.
The Scottish Government say that ministers did condemn reports of an attack, and today the First Minister addressed the Orange Order's concerns.
There's been incidents recently where members of the Orange Order have been subjected to acts of violence. These are completely and utterly unacceptable. The police are investigating these particular issues and they should be properly and fully investigated. And we will of course have dialogue with the Orange Order and the Community Safety Minister will take that forward.
So the Orange Order will get to meet with a government minister, but the organisation is still demanding it's the First Minister who gets round the table with them. David Wallace-Lockhart, reporting Scotland.
The opening of a multi-million pounds refurbishment project to turn Inverness Castle into an iconic state-of-the-art visitor attraction has been delayed. Those behind the ambitious £30 million programme, which began 5 years ago, say they faced a number of challenges, including a lack of workers and issues with materials, which have pushed the project back. But they now hope it will open by the end of the year. Ailey Davis reports.
Inverness Castle dominates the skyline of the Highland capital, but for many years the building was used as a courthouse. Now it's being transformed into a major visitor attraction. It was hoped it would be up and running this summer, but that target will now be missed.
We have hit a couple of issues. Our biggest issue has been labour. We're running short of labour on the site. We've got a lot of subcontractors that's engaged in this project that are from the local area, but they've obviously got a lot of other projects. Construction industry is quite buoyant at the moment. We're getting materials from all over Europe as well as all over Great Britain.
Those behind the project say the castle will include unique exhibitions and experiences.
It is a fully immersive experience. It celebrates the spirit of the Highlands, the past, present and future. We explore all regions of the Highlands, and all the stories that are involved in the content have come from communities right across the region. So although we touch on the history of Inverness and the history of the Castle Hill site, the main focus of the content within the castle explores what the spirit of the Highlands means to those who live, work and visit here.
It's hoped the castle will also bring a welcome economic boost to the city.
So through the paid attraction, we're looking at 200 to 1,000 visitors each year. But then also people can just come into the gardens, the esplanade, visit the shop, visit the bistro. So that number could easily double. We're aiming for the end of this year. That's what we're all working so hard to make sure that that happens.
Excitement around this huge project is building, but it remains to be seen whether Inverness Castle will officially open its doors before the end of the year. Ailey Davis, reporting Scotland, Inverness.
OK, Laura McKeever is here to tell us what's happening over on the news at 7 shortly. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura. Tonight we will have a full report on the story of that man that grabbed the steering wheel and handbrake of a car and attempted to kill 3 people near Elgin. We'll also be live trackside tonight for the Orkney Island Games to get the latest on the athletics.
You're fresh from there yourself.
Absolutely. We're back on it though tonight, and also talking about the tradition of the Guga hunt. For those that aren't familiar with it, it happens off the Isle of Lewis where gannets are killed for their meat. It's been off for a couple of years, but permission has been granted to go back on. Not everyone is happy about that though, so we'll have more on that at 7.
Good stuff. Thank you, Laura. Tonight's main news again. Nurse Sandy Peggy, who complained about sharing a changing room with a transgender doctor, is cleared of gross misconduct after an NHS disciplinary hearing. It comes as Miss Peggy's employment tribunal against NHS Fife resumes.
And coming up in the sport, the world's best golfers prepare to tee off at the Open Championship, but the event won't be returning to Turnberry anytime soon.
Now, Laura mentioned it there. We are now into the second half of the 2025 Island Games taking place in Orkney at the moment. And today we're hearing from islands big and small, including the English Channel island, Sark, which has the smallest team competing at the Games with just 2 members. Our reporter David Daldy has more from Orkney.
A solitary cloud in the Orkney sky. Competitors were warned to take waterproofs to these games. Instead, it's sun cream that's the order of the day. The lack of wind making it fine conditions for archery. Weather perhaps a bit more like home for the smallest team here, made up of just 2.
Sark is a very small island between Jersey and Guernsey, about 25 miles west of France. It's double diamond shaped.
How do you manage to do archery there?
With difficulty.
It's in my back garden, because fortunately we've got a 30-metre lawn, and so it does mean when it's cold we can go back in and warm up on the Arga, but otherwise we're up and down the lawn, and it's not enough, but it's the best we can do.
You got some really good ones then.
Whether you're in a team of 2 or 200, these are the friendly games. That's symbolised by the swapping of pin badges throughout the week. And some involved are determined to get the full set.
One of my favourite is Gibraltar. I really like the lighthouse. I'm missing Alderney. I heard that they only have about 6 athletes here, so I love to find them at the lawn bowl or on the track and field. So if you see anyone from Alderney, let me know.
We'll need to try and find an Alderney one for you. See, I've only got one here.
That's quite a rare one. Yeah, that's a rare one, Sark.
But others want to leave with much more than just badges around their neck. A big crowd in for this Northern Isles derby. Shetland's Shona Mackay and Chloe Hitchin up against Orkney's Jodie Groundwater and Rebecca Reid. The stakes high, with the winners guaranteed at least a bronze. A win for the home side and scenes of jubilation. Well, huge celebrations here. This secures Orkney's first ever badminton medal, and it shows that it's not all about playing people from the other side of the world. Sometimes it's beating those from closer to home that means most. David Daldy reporting Scotland, Orkney.
Yeah, and they really couldn't have wished for better weather, could they? Hopefully the weather will be good in Northern Ireland as well, because that's where we are heading.
Absolutely, and there's golf at the Ellen Games as well. I wonder if any of the participants will one day make it to an Open Championship.
Well,
you never know.
Watch this space.
Exactly.
You will be across it.
Absolutely. Good evening. It's the eve of what, for many golfers, is the biggest event in the sport. Yes, the Open Championship is about to get underway at Portrush, and this man here, Daniel Young, is one of 4 Scots who'll wake up thinking, could I be the one to lift that claret jug on Sunday afternoon? Although he's perhaps overshadowed by his compatriot Robert McIntyre, Young is in bullish mood about his chances. He'll be playing in his first major, as will compatriots Conor Graham and Cameron Adam, both still amateurs. The great and the good have arrived in Northern Ireland from all over the world, and Young can't wait to hit his first tee shot at 4:05 tomorrow afternoon.
I'm just going to go out there, enjoy it, and try and keep doing. I think I said to you, Dundalk, just keep doing what I've been doing for sort of the last month or so, which has been working. So yeah, expectation. If that's good enough to play 4 days, if that's good enough to be in the top 10 or even contention or whatever, you know, we'll just take the result. The outcome will be what it'll be, but we'll just go and try and sort of play the golf I've been playing and come up with it. We've got a pretty good game plan, I think, at the minute. So if we can just execute that to the best of my ability, and then yeah, you never know where that'll get me.
Well, one venue that won't be appearing in the Open Rota anytime soon is Turnberry, with the new boss of the R&A reiterating that their position is nothing to do with the course being owned by Donald Trump, but the road and rail infrastructure in South Ayrshire can't cope with the scale of the event. The previous boss of the governing body suggested the Open wouldn't return to the venue while Trump was US President, but Mark Darbin says that is no longer the case. He'd be open to hosting at Turnberry, but concedes it's just not feasible.
Unless we address the logistical challenges, it's difficult for us to go back. I met a couple of months ago with Eric Trump and some of the leadership from the Trump Golf Organisation and from Turnberry. We had a really good discussion. I think they understand, clearly where we're coming from. We talk through some of the challenges that we have, so we've got a good dialogue with them.
Rugby and Sione Tuipulotu, Finn Russell and Hugh Jones are set to form an all-Scottish midfield for the British and Irish Lions in their opening test against Australia on Saturday. If confirmed, it will be the first time since 1993 that a single nation has provided the entire 10, 12 and 13 axis in a Lions test. The trio did play together briefly, spending 6 minutes on the field during the Lions' win over Western Force, but this would mark their first Lions start as a midfield unit. Head coach Andy Farrell will reveal his full matchday squad tomorrow. Meanwhile, Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend is urging his side to finish their summer tour on a high as they prepare to face Samoa in Auckland. After a narrow win over the Maori All Blacks, the Scots are hoping to bounce back from last weekend's poor defeat to Fiji. Townsend, whose squad has been depleted with further Lions call-ups, has made 5 changes to the starting 15 for Friday's test at Eden Park.
Tours are remembered in part by what you experience off the field, but also by how well you play and the results you produce. And there was definitely a better feeling around the camp after the Maori game than there was after the Fiji game. And the players are looking to bounce back this weekend.
Football and the new Dundee coach Stephen Presley says he's under no illusions that he's got a tough job in his hands as he looks for a response from his players following an opening League Cup defeat to Airdrie. Presley's appointment was met with surprise by some fans of the Dens Park club, and that wasn't helped when he lost his first game in charge. They're back in action again this Saturday away to an Alloa side who have won their first 2 games in the competition.
We believe in what we're doing, but we're realistic about what we're doing. It was our first real game of any note. It was the first time we're really stress tested. Do I think we're anywhere near resembling what I want us to be? Absolutely not. No, not even close. But I do believe in the process. I do believe in what we're trying to do. I think we've got a group of players that you just said there have really bought into what we're trying to do. But along the way, there's going to be bumps.
There were 15 games in the League Cup last night. Among them, Hearts made it 2 straight wins in the competition with a 4-0 victory away to Hamilton. This was James Wilson with Hearts' 3rd of the evening. Motherwell left it late to see off Peterhead. It was 1-1 going into injury time when Lucas Fidinger found a winner for the hosts at Fir Park. And St Mirren are top of Group D, thanks to goals from Jayden Richardson and Mikel Mandron. The Buddies beat Forfar 2-1. The big drama of the night saw East Kilbride striker John Robertson score a 5-minute injury time hat-trick to beat Raith Rovers 4-2. A 5-minute hat-trick. That's about the time it just took me to read the sport.
Yeah, in the wrong job, Paul. OK, thank you. Christopher's here with the weather. How's it looking?
Some sunshine around today. Lovely picture there from one of our weather watchers in East Lothian, Laura. Actually, there's some heavy rain by the weekend, but let's talk about a bit closer to home, because there's some sunshine still to be had through the course of this evening. In fact, in Aberdeenshire today, 24.4 Celsius, not bad at all. But as we head through the course of this evening, we'll start to see some clear skies, and then for the next few days, low pressure is nearby, and there'll be some showers and some rain by the weekend. So this is this evening. We've got evening sunshine for many parts of the country, predominantly dry. There'll be some fairly extensive low cloud in Shetland, 1 or 2 spots of mist and fog elsewhere across the mainland. Town and city values there 9 to 12 Celsius overnight. First thing tomorrow, some morning sunshine, but cloud soon thickens in the west and southwest and works northwards through the day. That low cloud in Shetland will linger for a time as well. So best of the prolonged sunshine tomorrow in the far north and the northeast, and that's where the highest temperatures will be. But for most, still up to around 20 to 23 Celsius. Once again, maybe 24 or 25 in the northeast. You can see towards the west coast through the Hebrides some sharp showers here. The odd rumble of thunder with those as well, but sunnier skies in towards Caithness, Orkney, and improving in Shetland too. Through the course of tomorrow evening, those showers still with us, working their way northwards, reaching most parts as we head overnight into Friday. And then for Friday itself, it's a bit of a cloudy start with some showers, but it should improve, brightening up with some afternoon sunshine across many parts of the country. And temperatures once again on Friday up to around 20 to 22 Celsius, maybe 24 degrees across parts of the northwest. To the weekend and that rain I mentioned, well, low pressure is with us, so it is a rather unsettled picture with some heavy spells of rain at times. This is Saturday first off, and we've got some heavy, potentially thundery rain starting in the south and moving north through the course of the day. Quite a marked contrast to last Saturday, isn't it? Temperatures 18 to 22 Celsius, and Sunday once again outbreaks of rain, perhaps something drier and brighter in towards the south through the course of the afternoon, but all told, the weekend unsettled. That's the forecast for now.
OK, thank you, Christopher. Now tonight's main news again. Nurse Sandy Peggy, who complained about sharing a changing room with a transgender doctor, has been cleared of gross misconduct after an NHS disciplinary hearing. It comes as Miss Peggy's employment tribunal against NHS Fife resumes. Labour has suspended Rebel MP Brian Leishman. The Alloa and Grangemouth MP voted against the UK government's welfare reform bill earlier this month. And the Orange Order say they are severely disappointed not to meet with the First Minister today after their members were hit with air pellets during a march. But John Swinney insists he takes all forms of hate deadly seriously. And that is reporting Scotland for now. Laura McKeever will be here with your late news around 10:30 tonight. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.